episode number 22 of the Pound for Pound show. I am Philip, and joining me as always are Ben and Russ. How you gentlemen doing?
Great, Phil.
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, let's huge weekend of fights. So let's go without further ado. We'll go ahead and recap those. I mean, we'll get right into the big one first and talk about the big main event. We've got a new heavyweight champion of the world. Francis Ngannou was able to defeat Stipe in a pretty exciting fight. So I'll throw it over to you guys. Ben, I'll get your thoughts first and throw it over to Russ. How about you guys see and how'd you guys like it?
Yeah, Francis is the next superstar. This is where his reign begins, I guess you could say. He's knocked out his past 5 opponents, I think, in the first round. All of them, besides was Stipe the second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's looked extremely scary his last 5 fights and pretty much unstoppable. He had a great game plan coming in to Stipe. He stuffed the takedown. Now that if he can do that consistently, then who's going to beat him? And then he caught Stipe in the second round. We knew that was a possibility. First or second round, he's got that scary power, and he's kind of patient now. We've seen some patience from Francis in this fight, as opposed to previously he just bull rushes people. And Francis looked amazing, and he's got that Jones fight coming up next, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But Russ, what did you think?
I loved it. I mean, it's great to see like UFC's plan come together, for once. Like they tried to have these coronations of like big fighters a few times, and like it often like fails. Like they get to the fight and they lose somehow, but like Francis finally built up to it and took it, and it feels huge for them because for whatever reason, Stipe just wasn't a huge draw, even though he was a great heavyweight champion. Francis is. He looks like an absolute like mutant. Like he's just so freaking huge and scary. And we were all watching it there, and he caught him a couple times, but once we seen him stuff that takedown and end up on his back, that was the moment where we're like, oh well, this is going to go really badly, I think, for Stipe. He cracked him with like shots that would have ended most people right then.
Yeah.
And then second round, Stipe caught him, in that wild exchange. And I think that might've been the worst thing that happened to Stipe, because then he ran in and got caught by the knockout shot. Like I was thinking about it. I was like, if he doesn't catch him with that shot and wobble him, he never runs in, he stays pretty patient, and he could potentially have taken him into deep waters, even though like the pace of the fight, it looked like Francis would go for quite a while, but still, if he doesn't catch him with that shot, who knows? But just awesome performance by Francis. And, it's great to see. He's an awesome fighter and super fun to watch. And, Stipe's the man too. Just give him some time off and then come back, and, he'll get his rematch at some point. It's just take a little time, Yeah.
That was a vicious knockout. So he should definitely take some little time.
Yeah. Well, he's got another child on the way, so I think he's going to probably rest up, and maybe we'll see him again at the end of the year. And yeah, he's the most decorated UFC heavyweight of all time. We could debate who's the greatest, but he certainly is the most decorated and definitely deserves it. And he's proven in the past in trilogies he can get it done. So it would be a real exciting fight because they're one apiece. So we're definitely very interested to see how that would go in the third. And yeah, I agree with Russ. Like, obviously you can't say enough about the continued evolution of Francis. And it's good for the fans and good for the UFC when the heavyweight division is super exciting, because there's just something about heavyweights, just dudes that are like almost like superhuman out there, just like blasting people. There's just something about it that's so exciting, and it draws people are excited. So when you can get a heavyweight champion that you can really get, some momentum around, it's nothing but good for the division. So, but yeah, I was with Russ. I was like, man, if Stipe would have exercised the same level of patience, where would that fight have gone? Like, how much longer would Francis gas tank hold out? And, it was super impressive to see him stuff that one takedown, but it's one. You got it. Can he consistently do that through the course of a fight? Now, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Chael. I don't remember, but they were talking about how when Stipe shot in for that one takedown, like what a poor, his technique was bad. He's like, or it was DC actually. He's like, if that's John Jones, he's on the ground. He's like, he completes that takedown. He's like, so, but Francis is a work in progress. But again, it's different, like I said, it sounds like it's easy to take Francis down, but when you've got those freaking haymakers coming at your head, it's a very different ball game. So I don't envy the next person or anyone who has to fight Francis at any point. So congrats to him. But I kind of mentioned it. So what do you guys we kind of talked briefly about Stipe taking some time off. Let's address the elephant in the room and what you guys think is next and what you guys think should be next for Francis. So Russ, you can go first this time.
I think he had so many title defenses, with the loss to DC mixed in there, that he should just take 8 or 9 months off and get a title shot against the winner of Jones and Ngannou, given that happens. I don't think he should even have to do a fight in between. He had tons of successful title defenses and he has a win against Ngannou. So there's really no need to work his way back up. He's a great champion. I just think, a little bit of time to recover because that was an extremely violent finish. And he was in a couple wars with DC. So
yeah, I agree with you, Russ. He deserves the trilogy fight if Francis wins, and he deserves the Jones fight if Jones wins.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I feel like since he's not the most marketable guy, they don't want him to get that belt back. So they're going to make him go through a fight. And that's what I believe. I could be wrong on that.
Interesting matchup would be him against Cyril, because they're both lean heavyweights that strike real well. That would be a fun matchup, and it'd be a serious test for Cyril.
He has not fought Derek Lewis.
Well, I don't really want to see that.
I don't either, but I'm just saying.
I do. I do.
Derek Lewis is a destroyer, man.
Yeah, Stipe will put a hurt on that dude. So, but you got to give him his due. I am here saying that, and I will preface that by saying I have said that about a lot of other people that Derek Lewis has absolutely laid waste to. So, but I will ride that train into the ground.
It's to the point where I don't want to see anybody I like fight Derek Lewis because he just freaking obliterates him somehow. It just blows my mind every time. But it's well, he's gonna do it. So just keep him away from guys I like.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly, we'll have to talk about the flip side. We briefly touched on Stipe. What do you guys think is next for Francis? I mean, obviously the fight I think everyone wants to see is the John Jones fight, but it wouldn't be a John Jones fight without a bunch of shenanigans, and Derek Lewis certainly on paper has a case to make. He's won a lot of fights in a row and he beat Francis Ngannou already. I mean, it was the worst fight you've ever seen, but it doesn't matter. He still beat him. And so, you have to, if I was Derek Lewis, I'd be shouting from the rooftops, I want my freaking title shot. So,
yeah, I think
that's not his personality at all. He went on Rogan's podcast and said the belt really doesn't matter to him. It's strange, but he just wants to get rich. So I think probably the move is make that Jones fight. They have to make the Jones fight. Let's just, say that has to happen 100%. If that doesn't, it's such an indictment on UFC. They're both right there, same age, pretty much. That's the fight. But then make Derek Lewis an alternate. Cause in a Jones fight, who knows, what could happen? Have Derek Lewis ready, to step in there.
I think they're using, I think they're using Derek Lewis as leverage though. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's what it seems like.
But
yeah, to open it up, for anybody watching, there's obviously a lot of negotiations and shenanigans. John Jones has claimed everything from he wants X amount of millions of dollars to he wants to be released by the UFC because he's not treated with respect. So it obviously, I think, given the choice, Jones is the overwhelming group. That's the fight everyone wants to see. But can they make that happen realistically? And to Ben's point, UFC can barely John, we don't need you. We can put Derek Lewis in there. You don't have to get this fight, we want you to have this fight because we're all going to make a lot of money, but this isn't the John Jones show. And, realistically with him giving up his belt, you could say he gave up some of his negotiating power because he's not a world champion, but he is John Jones. Let's not no sell that. That's not important because he is in a lot of people's mind one of the greatest, if not the greatest fighter ever to do it. And this only would, it would be get harder and harder if he moves up to heavyweight and wins that title. It's be really hard to not make that argument for him. So, obviously I think that's the fight to make, but he likes to make things difficult, as you guys know.
I think he's just trying to get paid, and to his credit, he deserves it. He's the GOAT in my opinion. And if he wins the heavyweight gold, you cannot deny him that status, the GOAT status. You can't. And
he's trying to get paid for sure. I mean, rightfully so. And I'm not saying he's scared, but like I told you yesterday, if DC or Stipe were the champion, this fight's already made. Like, he knows the danger. He's not scared, but he knows that this is an incredibly dangerous fight, that he could get knocked out and lose a ton of drawing power, so that's why it's going to be a tough negotiation with him, but they'll get it done. I believe the UFC will get it done.
100%. 100%.
They typically do. So I think they will as well. So I don't know that I agree with that narrative. I think Stipe is a tougher fight for John than Francis is.
It's a tough matchup, but as far as danger, there's nobody in the world more dangerous. Like, that's
for sure. Maybe Derek Lewis.
There's an argument. I mean, he doesn't look as scared as he does knock out people at the same pace.
He most certainly does. And he literally, I think old Curtis Blades is still stiff as a board somewhere. So, but yeah, it's fun because it's interesting. It's for the first time in a while, we're having interesting discussions about the future of the heavyweight division. And it's not just one fight. It's been cool with Stipe because he's such an excellent champion, but it's Stipe versus X. And that is the discussion. But now there's a lot of X's and O's in play, and there's a lot of different routes they could do. And like you said, Cyril Gane is moving up and looking impressive, and a lot of different things that can happen. Mir's training for that Thriller fight. We could see Mir back in the mix here soon.
Oh man, dark horse.
Yeah, lots of things could happen. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I knew you'd appreciate that. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. So awesome. Well, real quick, we'll touch on some breaking news that's important, and then we'll turn it over to Russ to talk about the best bets. And big news that just came out. Leon Edwards gets the big fight he's been asking for, and Nate Diaz is back to fight Leon Edwards in a 5-round top fight. So
yes,
that's pretty exciting news. It's always, anytime one of the Diaz brothers comes back is always exciting, and Leon gets a big name. So we'll be very curious. So I'll get your guys' thoughts. Russ, what do you, not only obviously number one, you don't have to tell us how excited you are about that fight. I'm sure you're excited, but kind of what you expect to see.
Extremely excited to see Nate back in the octagon. Like, that's the greatest thing to me that could happen right now. I think he's going to go in there and get the win, set up the Conor trilogy. It's a nice little warm-up fight for him before Conor. Going to walk through Leon, and onward we go.
Walk through Leon.
You heard it here first.
This is coming from a huge Nate fan it was very biased. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But I think Leon and Nate, that's an awesome fight. Great to see Nate back, but they might as well have on boxing gloves. That's going to be just a boxing fight, I think. And
heck yeah.
And as far as like Nate's scar tissue, and the way Leon pieces people up, Nate's going to be bleeding like before the fight starts. So
I've never bothered him before, though.
That's true. I think Leon gets the win. I think that's a great matchup for him. Nate coming off of what, like a 1.5, 2-year layoff?
Right. It's the two most inactive dudes in UFC going against each other. So it's perfect.
Yeah, basically coming out of retirement.
And plus, Leon's not a well-known guy amongst like the casuals. So, right. and Nate is very well known. So that'll get Leon some spotlight too. And
for sure. Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry. The main event on that is Chandler Oliveira, and those guys aren't even that well known amongst the casuals. So putting Nate on that card builds a lot of these guys. So that's
another crazy thing to add to it is it's the first ever 5-round non-title, non-main event.
So strange.
That's the negotiating power of a Diaz, bro. Like,
that's so strange.
Yeah. He's going to take him into deep waters and piece him up. I can't wait.
It is, it's interesting because, it'll be, we'll dig more into it as the fight arrives. We don't want to ruin our preview show. But it'll be interesting because it's such a huge opportunity for Leon, but it's a massive step up. And then your point is normally valid about like how long Nate's been off and everything, but he pretty much came out of like cryogenic freezer to fight Anthony Pettis, who is an amazing striker. And he beat Pettis like he owed him money.
Yeah, that is true. So, you're right. Yeah.
Diaz brothers, like, again, they're a rare breed. You never really know what to expect from those guys. So
yeah.
And if it gets ugly, it could go to the ground. And the Diaz brothers are super capable there as well. So it'll be very interesting. But
huge advantage on the ground.
Yeah, I would agree with assumptions, but I guarantee you UFC, if the fight starts going Leon's way, Dana might slide in and kneecap Leon with something because Leon wins that fight. It's going to cost a lot of people money. So
probably.
Yeah. So
The trilogy fight with Connor's there regardless. So
it really is.
Yeah,
it really is. So
they already started going at it. Like it was like the moment that fight was announced, they went back and forth, Connor and Nate, like on Twitter for like.
But yeah,
couple
but
hours.
I mean, if Connor wins the trilogy fight against Dustin and Nate wins against Leon, that fight has a whole lot more interest. I mean, it's a huge fight anyway.
Yeah.
But it gets a whole lot huger if those guys are coming off big wins.
Oh my
Very
God.
true.
Yeah.
Huge.
Because obviously that you book Connor Nate, and then the winner is pretty much can have any fight they want.
Oh, if they both are coming off wins, you're talking like record-breaking pay-per-view numbers. Like, huge.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be, especially if they come out and it looks like the Connor and Nate of old, Connor comes out and just takes care of Dustin in like 2 minutes violently, and then Nate comes out and turns Leon into a freaking zombie. It would be you'd
get me fired up just thinking about the possibilities of that happening. Freaking man.
Well, we don't have to worry about it because Dustin's going to handle business, and we're not going to have to worry about it.
Come on.
Connor's going to go off into the sunset and sell whiskey to people. So
that's
not a bad side gig.
No,
it really
not
isn't.
at all.
But yeah, Russ, before we shut it down for the day, let's celebrate. You had a winning week in the best bets, so tell us all about it.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the best bets. Okay, we went 2-1 last week. One on Miranda Maverick -180. One on Francis by KO +105, and then we lost on Almeida. He was the big underdog at +240. He was never in the fight, so I mean, if you're gonna lose, that's the way to go down, I guess. Like,
that's great.
Split decision loss. So it's gonna be nothing but winning weeks from here on out. I'm putting a personal guarantee out here.
I think it's a good time to wrap this show up. So with that being said, everyone have an awesome week. Enjoy the week off from fights, and we'll be back soon enough to break it down. Until then, enjoy watching us do stupid things.
Yes.
And soon. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for watching. See you guys.